Celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting, 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Wednesday, March 29th, 2017. And here are some of today's trends in the news. On the market fronts, over there in Asia, boop, everything's up. Except Shanghai, down a little bit. Over there in Europe, everything's up, but only a little bit. Here in the States, it's mixed, but only a little bit. And that's it. Not a lot happening. Stocks closed mixed. In the U.S., down about 40 points. Quote, the market is trading in a wait-and-see mode to see whether the administration will be able to move on with tax reform, said the CIO of Bryn Mawr Trust. So, the equities have rallied on strong expectations with Trump. Him signing this stuff about deregulating, some laws and bringing back coal, that's more for show. Not going to do a lot. Quote, what's frustrating is I don't know if yesterday, meaning yesterday when consumer confidence hit a 16-year high, is an indication that things are back on track, said Tom Siomedes, head of Hartford Funds Investment. There seems to be a lack of progress on the Trump agenda. A lack of progress. So that's why we have these markets flattening out. If there's no real progress, as we keep saying, we're looking for at least a 10% correction, considering that when the Dow and the NASDAQ hit their high, they were up over 12% from Election Day 2016. So a 10% correction is what's expected. In economic news, in the States, weekly mortgage applications were flat. Pending home sales data showed a 5.5% increase in February. Gold, up a little bit. That Brexit thing happened, but we don't see a lot happening from that either. That's played into the market. The markets are basically flat. And gold is in a trading range now. It has to break strongly above 1260 to push it forward. It's having trouble doing that. So at this point, it appears more of a downside risk. Importantly, SPDR Gold Trust, the world's largest gold-backed exchange-traded fund, reported an outflow of 1.8 tons on Tuesday. However, we've been reporting stronger demand from China and stronger physical demand from India. So the way the markets are played has very little to do with gold on the streets. And oil. Well, oil went up today. That's what helped drive the Dow up over 2%, because U.S. crude inventories rose less than expected. Big deal. And supply disruptions continued in Libya. And the OPEC folks are saying that they're going to do another round of holding back on production. And they say that right now the last round is in 95 compliance, 95%. But let's go back to Libya. Why isn't anyone talking about the people that caused the problems in Libya, that created the radical groups, the militants that are overthrowing the Assad regime in Syria, the ISISes in Iraq, all brought to you by the murderer-in-chief, Barack Obama, slimeball Sarkozy, the little Frenchman of nothing, and Cameron was there before, gone today, a nobody then and a nobody now. All these murderous people that have caused these problems, no one talks about it. It's gone. And so is Libyan oil production. And what else do we have here? Israel's sea border dispute with Lebanon risks deterring oil investors. There should be no sea dispute with Lebanon. Everybody should know it. God gave it to Israel. Yeah, it's in the Bible, chapter 7, paragraph 3, section 8. Yep. They'll take anything that they want, and the United States will fight along with them to make sure that they get it. You remember yesterday, I read about Carlos Slim, that billionaire down in Mexico. And you remember the week before talking about Geely, the Chinese automaker. And yesterday about how Carlos Slim is doing a deal with China's JAC Motors as they focus on the Latin American market. And remember, I keep saying, and we're the only people talking about this that we know of, people are putting the little pieces together, but not the grand total. Let's get the China story straight. It's kind of what happened to Japan after World War II. When I was a kid and we got toys made in Japan, they were junk, and you knew it. But it was a country trying to get back on its feet. And once they got back on their feet, they ended up buying Rockefeller Plaza for a while. And then they started importing higher-end products until they got to higher-end cars. Go back to China, same thing. They started making cheap things, and now they're competing in the internet world, the phone world, and next the car world. Because here's today's story. China's Tencent takes 5% Tesla stake in move to enter connected car market. Financial Times. You know those banksters like Wells Fargo, who did that dirty deal that opened up fake accounts, yeah. Well, they gave that CEO a 17% raise. That's right. Then you had Credit Suisse increase bonuses despite posting big annual loss. So there's a little story that came out from Oxfam. You remember Oxfam? Yeah, they're those people that show that 8 billionaires have more money than 3.6 billion people. That Oxfam. They came out with a study opening the vaults. And they're showing about 25 billion euros in the biggest European banks are hidden in tax havens. Isn't that wonderful? Tax havens. Yeah. Look at how the banks keep robbing us. We don't pay our taxes, boy, they crack down on us. But you look at what's going on, whether it's the Googles, the Microsofts, the Apples, the Starbucks, the Gaps, one after another, they're hiding the dough in these tax havens. Isn't that a nice word? Tax havens. Look at the banks. You remember the con man, the arrogant liar-in-chief Obama. Yeah, he was going to make those people pay, those banksters, for the crimes that they committed, and not one head rolled. And those too big to fails grew an additional 10% under Obama. That's right. Those big banks began to get big under Slick Willie the Slimer Clinton. Back in 1992, the biggest banks controlled 10% of the nation's banking system. Today, 45%. We are the little people of Slavelandia, and they call it populism when you speak out against it, and right-wingers. Oh, and angry for not liking to take it up the you-know-what. Yep. Too big to fail in capitalism, no such thing. Rise and fall on your own merits. But in fascism, the merger of state and corporate powers, that's what we have. And when you talk about tax havens, how about that guy, JFK? Yep. And you know I have a photograph of me and John Connally, the fellow that was the governor of Texas that sat in front of him. I have a picture of me, him, and his wife, Nellie, in front of the book depository. I've been writing about that in the TrendsJournal, talked about it a number of times. That JFK, the one that was assassinated, he was going to, quote, put these tax havens out of existence. Guess they put him out of existence, didn't they? So that's where we're going here. Let's get this story straight. It's one big ripoff after another, and we're the people paying for it. And paying more and paying more in wars and atrocities. But no one seems to care. It's off the radar. U.S. boost backing for Saudis and United Arab Emirates. The Trump administration has significantly increased military support for Sunni Arab states fighting al-Qaeda and Iranian-backed militias in Yemen. This is from the Wall Street Journal. The Houthis are not backed by Iran. There is no proof, but hey, there's no proof of anything, but they make up fake news. Oh, and we have to support the Sunnis because the Shia, bad, huh? Oh, you know that. Of course. The Trump administration is also moving to resume sale of precision-guided weapons to Saudi Arabia. Yep. Senior U.S. defense official, assholes, said much of the Trump administration's Yemen strategy is now tied to military alliances with the United Arab Emirates. Our allies. So when you talk about lies and fake news and slimy prostitutes in America that only promote hate, how about the story that came out in the Voice of America? Hardly a left-wing source, but a story that has not made it to any of the major newspapers in the United States. Cyber firm rewrites part of disputed Russian hacking report. U.S. cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike has revised and retracted statements it used to buttress claims of Russian hacking during last year's American presidential campaign. Voice of America reported yesterday that the International Institute for Strategic Studies, which publishes an annual reference estimating the strength of the world armed forces, disavowed the CrowdStrike report and said it had never been contacted by the company, although they said that they were, obviously. CrowdStrike was the first to link hacks of Democratic Party computers to Russian actors last year. But yet, the story still persists. And not only does the story still persist, you have murderers promoting America's hatred toward Russia and using this hacking lie as a reason. None other than that little dick, Cheney, who said in a speech on Monday that Russia's alleged involvement in the election should be considered an act of war. A little dick, Cheney. I know, don't get excited, I should be proper, you're right. Penis Cheney said, quote, there was a serious effort made by Russian President Vladimir Putin and his government, his organization, to interfere in major ways with our basic fundamental democratic process. He considered that in some quarters, quote, an act of war. A little lying dick, Cheney, who lied us in to the Iraq War, promoting a fake story according to the Voice of America. And they report this like it's real news. The little fake prostitutes on CNN, ABC, CBS, and all the rest. Trends in the news, the real news, not the fake news. Spread the word, because if you don't, they are going to take us to an act of war. Do what you can to help promote our work and to support OccupyPeace.us, because you can see where this is going. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's trends in the news.